Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our MESAT Bulletin. And we shall start with our headlines. Syrian forces press on in Aleppo as attacks kill civilians. Cubans line streets as Fidel Castro's ashes begin journey. And moving on to our details, starting with the Syrian profile, a barrage of artillery fire struck a housing area for displaced residents in rebel-held eastern Aleppo on Wednesday, killing at least 21 civilians, as another 8 civilians were killed in shelling on the government-held western side of the city. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said it was the second time in the Job al-Qubba neighborhood in eastern Aleppo was struck in as many days, when an airstrike killed 25 civilians on Tuesday. From another aspect, Syrian state media said 2 children were among the 8 killed in shelling on the city's western neighborhoods, which it blamed on the rebels. In Ankara, authorities on Wednesday detained 6 people in connection with a fire that broke out at a middle school dormitory for girls and left 12 people dead. The fire blazed through the 3-story building in the town of Al-Adag in Adana province late Tuesday. The fire, believed to be caused by an electrical fault, killed 11 students and a teacher, while 22 people were injured, and all of the victims were Turkish. Moreover, Adana's chief prosecutor told the state-run Anadolu agency that the dormitory's director, 3 teachers, and 2 other employees were detained for questioning as part of a probe into possible negligence. Onto illegal immigration profile, authorities in Greece say they have picked up about 70 migrants, including children, found in a forested area on the outskirts of the northern city of Thessaloniki. The group, who said they were from Syria, told police on Wednesday that they had crossed the Greek-Turkish border and had been transported to the area hidden in a truck. The truck driver left them in the forest late Tuesday and they spent the night there in the snow. It's worth mentioning that the European Union-Turkey agreement doesn't extend to migrants and refugees crossing the land border between the 2 countries, Greece and Turkey. On the other side of the world, Fidel Castro's ashes have begun a 4-day journey across Cuba from Havana to their final resting place in the eastern city of Santiago. The remains of the 90-year-old leader were taken out of Cuba's defense ministry and placed in a small coffin covered with by a Cuban flag to begin a more than 500-mile procession. His ashes will be interred on Sunday, ending the 9-day mourning period for the man who ruled the country for nearly 50 years. From another aspect, the route traces in reverse the victory tour Castro and his bearded rebels took after overthrowing the forces of strongman Fulgencio Batista in 1959. In Madrid, Spanish police have arrested 2 Moroccans for suspected links to the Islamic State group, including one who was allegedly studying intensely on the internet to carry out attacks against civilians. The Interior Ministry said on Wednesday a Moroccan arrested in the central town of Aranjuez spent many hours viewing and spreading IS-related video material and displayed a fanaticism that fit the profile of a dangerous lone actor recruited to carry out attacks. The ministry later said police had arrested another Moroccan who had traveled to Turkey recently to join IS in Syria, but was sent back by Turkish authorities. On to Brussels, Belgian police have detained 6 people and seized a number of knives in anti-terror raids linked to a machete attack on 2 police officers earlier this year. The Federal Prosecutor's Office said 8 raids were launched on Wednesday around the city of Charleroi and that several knives were seized, including many similar to those used in the attack. From another aspect, Khaled Babouri, a 33-year-old Algerian, attacked and wounded 2 women officers with a machete at Charleroi's police station on August 6, and he was shot dead by a 3rd officer. On another side, thousands of Indonesians on Wednesday joined nationwide interfaith rallies organized by the military in an attempt to demonstrate national unity as religious and racial tensions divide the nation. Police estimated that 30,000 people attended a rally at the National Monument in Jakarta, the capital, but said half of them were either from the military or police. Organizers of Wednesday's rallies, led by the military chief, also invited students and leaders of the six religions recognized in Indonesia. Groups of people wearing headbands in the red and white colors of the Indonesian flag prayed together and soldiers sang patriotic songs. And going to Africa, Zimbabwe police fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse scores of activists protesting the introduction of a new currency in the capital, Harare. Protesters carried placards on Wednesday and chanted slogans denouncing the new currency called bond notes, which they fear will become worthless because of economic mismanagement by President Robert Mugabe's government. It's worth mentioning that the economically troubled Southern African country introduced the bond notes on Monday, the first time Zimbabwe had its own currency since 2009, when hyperinflation reached 500 billion%, according to the International Monetary Fund. At that time, there were $100 trillion notes in circulation. And moving on to our economic news, the 14 oil-producing nations of the OPEC cartel moved closer on Wednesday to end infighting and agreed to cut output for the first time in 8 years, sparking a surge in the price of crude. The international benchmark for crude oil soared $3.80 or 8.2% to $50.18 a barrel, as the country's oil ministers seemed to focus less on whether there would be a cut and more on how it would be shared among members. Iraqi oil ministers said there will be a cut, yeah, definitely, as ministers headed into their closed decision-making session. Comments from both sides suggested a compromise was near. And finally, on to natural crises. A suspected tornado killed 3 people in Alabama as a line of severe storms moved across the South overnight. The 3 who died were all in a mobile home in the northeastern Alabama community of Rosalie, according to Jackson County Chief, who added that another person in the home was critically injured. The chief also said there were a number of other injuries and estimated that 16 to 20 structures in the county have been destroyed, but he could not give an exact number of injuries. From another aspect, tornadoes and hail were also reported on Tuesday in Louisiana and Mississippi. And before ending our news, let's take another look at the most important headlines for today. Syrian forces press on in Aleppo as attacks kill civilians. Cubans line streets as Fidel Castro's ashes begin journey. And we reach the end of our News Bulletin for today. Thank you for joining us.